I'm here to talk about an older book that I just read. Hide and Seek by Jack Ketchum. And Ketchum is certainly one of the best horror writers around today. I mean, he's been writing for, 30 years or so, I think. And unlike a lot of horror writers, he's one of the few that have managed to make a very good name for himself without doing a lot of supernatural horror. You know, most of his stuff is more the deranged killer type of thing. And this particular book is one of his earliest books. In fact, unless I was looking at his online bibliography wrong, this would have been his second published work. Now, you know, not everybody starts off writing really well. So, is this book a good book? A bad book? Okay book? Well, why don't I read you something from the first chapter so you can try and decide for yourself.
I don't believe in omens, but I think you can know when you're in trouble. Follow me on this, even if it sounds like bullshit. I was working the stacks of 2x4 furring. What we needed was an 8-foot length off the top. We were nearly into the next bundle down, but you could still see a couple of lengths up there that didn't look too weathered, so I climbed up after one. I had my hands on one when the steel cable snapped on the bundle I was walking on. The sound like a whip cracking. Damn near took my head off, too. And naturally I lost my footing. I fell 10 feet to the tarmac in a shower of heavy lumber. Not a scratch on me. I was lucky. But the boss gave me hell. You weren't supposed to go up there, though everybody did. You were supposed to use the forklift. There was an insurance problem, so I was breaking the rules. That was the first thing, getting damn near killed breaking the rules. That same week, I had the Chevy pickup out on the coast road doing maybe 60, when a big black tanker passed me on the downgrade. I let him have the highway, but then on the upgrade he slowed to a crawl. I swallowed diesel fumes behind him for a while, and then pulled out to pass. But I guess the guy wanted to play. He wouldn't let me by. He'd move over across the broken yellow line just far enough so that there was a good chance of piling me into the hillside if I tried. Then he'd pull back again. Out and back. I could see him watching me through the rearview mirror. It was very nasty. I cursed him and waited for an opening. It came on the downgrade again. By the time I saw it, we were both of us doing 70. Already that was hard on the pickup. My wheel would always wobble at 65, so I held my breath and told myself to hell with it. You were only young once, and pressed it to 80. The pickup shook like it was trying to fall apart. I remembered the old bald tires. The downgrade was long and steep, and we ran it neck and neck, he and I. I passed him just as the road turned up again. I was sweating and my hands were trembling. I could see the bastard smiling at me as I passed him, even to this day. Not so much the man, but the wicked cut of the smile. A tanker is a very big thing on a narrow highway when it's running 1.5 feet away from you at 80 for over a mile. So that was the second thing, being stupid and angry and taking bad risks. I could just as easily have waited him out. It had been a nice, sunny day. Then I stepped in dog shit. Coming home from work half a block from Harmon's. No, I know that's nothing, meaningless, silly, even though it was a particularly big pile of dog shit and fresh. But I'll tell you why I remember it and why I put it with the other things. It's very simple. I wasn't looking where I was going.
Yeah, even for an early book like this, it's got a really good style to it. When I was recording that, I was having a hard time stopping. I could have just kept on going, but it's already getting a little too long. And almost to the point where I could maybe almost get in trouble for it. I don't know. Probably not, but it's certainly a lot longer reading than I've done for anything else in one of these reviews. Yeah, now the basic plot of this is that there's a young man, like early 20s, living in a small Maine town, working at a job in a lumber yard. And, basically one of those people who is looking like he'll be one of those people who just stays there for the rest of his life. And then one day he meets three rich kids who are vacationing in the area. And, it's two girls and one guy. And he, of course, ends up falling in love with the one girl who isn't attached to the guy. And, they're a bit of wild kids, like one of the stereotypes you see for rich kids in these sorts of stories. Do some petty shoplifting, and there's a little joyriding at one point. And basically, they're the kind of rich kids who like to cause trouble just for something to do. And then you get into a lot of love and sex and that kind of stuff is about half the book. And they finally get to the hide and seek that the book is named after, where they go to an old, supposedly abandoned house to play a game of hide and seek. And according to local legend, fact actually, the house had been owned by a pair of siblings who were not quite right in the head and had owned a pack of vicious dogs. Then one day, when they basically hadn't kept up with their mortgage, and when it went to be foreclosed on, they found that the siblings had vanished, but their dogs were still in the house. So, they had to get the police and ASPCA out to get rid of the dogs, and could find no trace of the missing siblings. And, the house had been briefly occupied later on, but the person who lived there was left frightened because of strange goings-on involving a hole in the wall in the basement that apparently led to caves underneath, and you can pretty much see what's going to happen when they go hide and seek, right? I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out what's going to happen. And for a while, I was thinking this was going to turn out to be something like his book Off Season and Offspring, but which was, Off Season was actually his first novel. This one, it's, similar, but definitely not the same. If you never read Off Season, it's about a tribe of cannibals that wander around the wilds of Maine and kill and eat people. This book, I thought it was pretty good, especially for an early work, but it's definitely flawed. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, almost half the freaking work takes place, half the book just about, until you actually get to any of the horror reaction. And the first half of the book is pretty much like a romance almost. Well, not really. It's not really romance. It's just a lot of sex and stuff and talking and character development, really. And it's not bad, but it's just kind of slow getting to the horror part. And the sex parts are, the early parts are good for what they are, but it's not horror, and this is supposed to be a horror novel. I can't help but think it would have made a really great short story if they would have just, cut off the first half and maybe just started off with a hide and seek part. This makes for a pretty good novel, though. I mean, it's a short, and like I said, the introduction half is all about setting up the characters and giving the backstory and all that stuff, but it's a little too long. But even so, I'm still going to give this 4 gas masks because I thought it was a pretty good book. And that is pretty much all I have to say about this particular novel. I will be back soon with more reviews. Hopefully tomorrow or the day after, maybe. I don't know. Well, probably not tomorrow. Probably the day after. And I will see you then. Goodbye.
If you like this video, please click subscribe or watch some of my older videos. If you think the book I reviewed sounds interesting, buy a copy. There are always links to the Amazon store in the description for this book and any other books I mentioned. If you have any suggestions on other books I could read, or any other comments, queries, insults, or anything else you want to say, please feel free to mention it in the comments section.